In your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
From beautiful Saline in southeastern Michigan.
Around the world at sunskymysteries.com.
This is the 2009 Top 10 Webcam in the World winner. This is SETV.
Well, good evening, everybody. Bill Zam here. How is everybody doing? It would be helpful if I could get the screen up and running. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and get rid of that. There we go. Today is June 13th, 2012. This is Surrounded by Idiots. Now, you know, a lot of people ask me, Bill, what kind of idiots are you surrounded by? Well, you see, I actually have an example of the types of idiots that we're surrounded by here in Southeast Michigan. You need to check this guy out. Here is a video. This is recorded from Channel 7 News in Detroit. That's Channel 7 News in Detroit. Those of you on the audio side aren't going to hear anything whatsoever. Actually, I can probably bring that up on the audio side so you can hear it at the same time. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm going to play both of them at the same time. Ready, set, go.
Caught. Taking action for Brown, we did some digging and found Ihor Stikevich, a Warren resident. The truck Brown described parked in the driveway. Wood covered his yard. Stikevich claims he hit a curb and the debris accidentally fell out. It's a little illegal to leave the wood in the street, so what I'm asking is...
I mean, you don't have to ask me, and I don't take no orders from no woman, by the way. By the way, I don't take no orders from no women.
Stikevich says he was planning to go back and clean up the wood, but only had $1 worth of gas. So you were saying that you were going back to clean up the wood?
Oh, yes. I'm Mr. Cleanup. Okay. I'm not Mr. Clean. I'm Mr. Clean Up.
Somebody said
I live in Warren, and I'm cleaning up Detroit. Go figure that one out.
But somebody said that they tried to yell at you to come back, and you kept going. And
it must have been a woman, and I don't listen to women yelling. I tell them to shut up.
Well, he was quite offensive with his answers. Stikevich maintains he just wants to help people remove chunks of wood from their property.
I lift them all by myself with nobody else's help. Old guys, disabled guys, black guys, white guys, Polish guys, Ukrainian guys, and guys from Mars also.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
From Mars?
From Mars. Yeah, that's where I'm from, Mars.
And police are investigating what exactly happened out here and whether Stikevich is responsible or whether he'll face any charges. On Detroit's east side, Tara Edwards.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Igor Kikabich from Warren, Michigan. You see, my wife, during the week, her mother is old, and she takes care of her mom during the week in Warren, Michigan. This guy right here, this idiot, he's right down the street from where my wife stays during the week. And this guy, he don't listen to no women, but it gets better. It gets better by the minute. Let's take a look at the screen, and it would be helpful if I pulled this up. There we go. And the man accused in the dumping the wood is now in custody after hearing on indecent exposure. You can't make this stuff up, folks. You see, he was pulling his pants down in the middle of the street. And he told the judge, here's what he told the judge. He told the judge, my mom, she bought me some pants that were too big, and they kept falling down. And I don't listen to no women. Oh, good God. Would somebody please help me? He is just... There he is. The man suspected of dumping a large sections of a tree in a Detroit street has been taken into custody. Following an unrelated court appearance for an indecent exposure incident. He says that occurred because his pants were too large. Igor Kikabich was in court Thursday facing indecent exposure, malicious destruction of property, and disorderly conduct on a total of 4 cases. And you guys wanted to know what kind of idiots I'm surrounded by. There you go. Oh, brother. Oh, I'm so going to get sued over this. That's insane. I don't listen to no women. And the reporter says, didn't you hear somebody yelling at you? And he goes, it was probably a woman. I don't take no orders from women. Oh, brother. Speaking of idiots, I have in my hot little hands right here. For those of you on the audio side, not only do they not get it, they never, ever, ever stop. No matter what they get, they want more, from money to rules to laws. These progressive liberals are so twisted that they make a Twizzler look straight in comparison. Apparently, New York City Mayor Mike Bloomberg hasn't exercised his nanny state card enough with his big gulp ban, and now the New York City Board of Health, whose members were chosen by Bloomberg, is looking to target milkshakes and popcorn. Movie theaters are probably going to object to this. Since the big gulp ban surfaced 2 weeks ago, Bloomberg has fully defended his push for government to control what people can and cannot eat, saying it's the government's role to improve public health. They can do the following. They can pay for a study. They can pay for a study to be printed on a printing press. They can release the study to the public. They can talk about the study. Thus far, he has banned smoking, trans fats, salt, large soft drinks, and is now working on banning popcorn and milkshakes, and oh yeah, cigars too. But here's the thing, Bloomberg, and all the rest of you do-goody liberal progressives. You keep your damn mitts off my food, off what I eat, what I say, what I drink, what I do, and where I go. Your job is to protect us. Protect us from fire by having a fire department. Protect us from criminals by having a police department. But it is not, your job is not to tell me what I can eat, what I can buy, where I can buy it, when I can buy it, how I can buy it, and your job is not to force me to buy something that I don't want. You idiots. Mike Brown over at townhall.com recently reported the news that he had received a notice from Facebook about the book that he has written. He has written a book. The title is A Queer Thing Happened to America. Queer meaning odd. It was deleted for allegedly violating Facebook's community standards. But the problem is, it's a conservative Christian book. But Facebook pages like Hitler's Fetus is Our Jesus and Zombie Jesus and a host of other grossly offensive pages apparently do not violate these standards. The Facebook page, this is what he says, so this is what Mike Brown says. The Facebook page for my book had been online for about 1 year. 1 year. Containing reader comments, links to reviews, and relevant news links that some members would post. All in all, the page was quite benign, and being older, fairly inactive. As for the book itself, it is carefully and compassionately written, meticulously documented, and in reality an expose of hate speech rather than an example of it. Yet the page, which featured the cover of the book, allegedly violated Facebook's community standards. And now, of course, I have to interject a merciless plug upon your audio orifices. Over at our site, SeleneETV.com, we have many of the same features. We have an activity wall, we have groups, we have posts, we have a discussion forum, and we would not have deleted his book. However, we would have deleted Hitler's Fetus and Zombie Jesus just because that's stupid. So, head over to SeleneETV.com and become a member and ditch that Facebook vaporware crap. Since I'm on the topic, I've been meaning to mention this for a while, and it hasn't come up on the old conversational rotation here. Facebook, their IPO. Facebook is vaporware. It has no product. It does nothing other than exhibit worthless tripe that people say to each other. That's all it is. Have you ever tried to advertise on Facebook? I've advertised on Facebook. We started our show, Surrounded by Idiots. We started the show last November. I advertised the show heavily on Facebook. We got virtually no response. When you have Cliff High on your premiere show, and you're getting over, what did we get for that show? I think something like 55,000 listeners and viewers on that one single show, our premiere show. That's pretty darn good for an online premiere. We got virtually no responses from Facebook. 14 million views, and nobody clicked on it. Facebook is vaporware. People only go there to show each other their butts and how stupid they are. Although everybody has a Facebook page, I have a Facebook page. But I prefer to do my posting on SeleneETV.com. Now, I was going to get some audio clips together for this last part, but I decided not to. Mr. Director, the director of the show there, he's got something he wants me to talk about. Let me see here. Hopefully Mr. Director can get this information to me. I am not sure exactly where it is. I am sure that he will get it to me in mere moments. So we'll just go ahead and sit here and wait. And in the meantime, what I'm going to do is bring up... Oh, hold on a second. It appears that the director is printing out what they want me to say on the printer. And there we go, right here. This is what they want me to say for the monologue. I don't know why, but I'm going to try to work it in as we move over here to our show notes. Let me see here. We have a director. Unfortunately, we don't have a producer. Incidentally, I wanted to mention this. A good friend of the show. You're probably familiar with her if you've watched the show before. If you have been in the chat or anything else. You know her name. Her name is Susan. And she is a good friend of the show and a good friend of the family. And right now she is having some problems of a personal nature. And we would appreciate if everybody in the audience, and just by mentioning this, we are achieving our goal. If you would all say a prayer for her and her family tonight before you go to bed when you're doing your evening prayers. Whatever religion you happen to be, go ahead and say a prayer for our good friend Susan, who is a major part of the show. Let's go over here and take a look at our show notes. My job is to wake people up, to do whatever it takes to do it, to try one person at a time to wake people up to what is actually happening in this country and this world, because we are being burned to the freaking ground by all of these idiots from Washington to the United Nations to the banks and any other organization or groups of idiots I've left out, including apparently flatbed truck drivers in Warren, Michigan. These people are the ones that keep trying to move the Overton window to the left like a dizzy lunatic in a one-man ass-kicking contest. Also, as I have been saying over the past few weeks, there are several things you need to keep in mind. Number one, people, in fact, are waking up. They are not asleep anymore. More and more people are waking up. Whatever small part this show has done, great. That is excellent. I know that people listen and watch shows that are far more popular than this one, and that's fine. I don't really care. We're happy with the little niche that we have. Remember, when somebody breaks this nation's covenant with God, and you stand by and do nothing, it is as if you have broken that covenant yourself. That said, that is why I say that at the beginning of the show. Now, I was thinking, and this is like sheer genius on my part, I believe, what is happening in our society from an anthropological and a sociological point of view is something that I believe is quite amazing. You know, we've had Boris Artemenko on, we've had Cliff High on, we've had L.A. Marzulli on, we've had all these different people on. And all of them have talked about the cycle that this planet goes through. And if you're a regular viewer of the show, if you watched previous shows, you know darn well what that cycle is. It's a 3,500 to 3,600 year cycle. It is, some people believe it is when this Planet X or Naribu or whatever you want, or the Destroyer or whatever you want to call it, comes around and messes with either the environmental aspects of the planet or the magnetic structure of the planet itself, or causes a pole flip or whatever. But it seems that every 3,500 years to 3,600 years, something happens on this planet and human civilization goes catty-wampus. I mean, look at the evidence. We've got, and the evidence, in my view, is accurate, even though some people would say it's a fable, it's not true. You have Mu, you have Atlantis, you have the Great Flood, you have the Exodus. All of those fall on a 3,500 to 3,600 year cycle. If you go back through history and you look at the Exodus, that was about 3,500 years ago. And then the flood, the Great Flood, documented in many, many different civilizations, that was about 3,500 years before that. And then lost in the historical records, because it happened so long ago. You have Atlantis, you have Mu, and lands like that, civilizations like that. I believe, it certainly seems to me, that it is now our turn to be the big losers in the roulette wheel of time. Thank you for that in the control room. That lightens the moment up substantially. At any rate, let's go back over here. And what I was talking about, this kind of stuff, I believe, that we are seeing right now can only come from a source of evil. Imagine the plan, the divinely inspired United States versus Satan. How would Satan work to bring us down? Well, the term united we stand, divided we fall is certainly true in our instance in this country. Every time we have stood united, we have defeated evil. Every time we have stood divided, evil has been able to attempt to triumph. So this is just my opinion, a little daydream that I had. First, give some genius a little push. You can take your pick. Tesla, Edison, Ford, Einstein, doesn't matter. Then start a technology revolution. Now, to get a technology revolution really, really going so that you can get your plan going, you need a war. So for that, you make some guy named Adolf insane, and off we go. And then after the war, you have that technologically advanced revolution. Now, some people say the flying saucers, the aliens in Roswell, they got all the technology off of that one little flying saucer, but whatever. The purpose is to divide people, to make them willing prisoners of their own homes, and that is what we are seeing. To make them not hanging out in the town square discussing matters of the day, but to divide them through entertainment. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what they are trying to prevent now, because now we have the internet. Now, all of humanity is gathered as one community. We gather online at the places like the aforementioned Facebook, in different discussion groups, in chat rooms. Incidentally, Selene TV, we are working on our own chat room server that is secure. So you can come in there and chat, and nobody is going to overhear it because we don't buy into the NSA, CIA, FBI, Department of Homeland Security bullcrap. At any rate, people all over the world are now talking to each other. They can't have that because the entire goal is to keep people at home, fat, dumb, and happy, playing their Xboxes, watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, or Dance Party, or whatever any of those other shows are. And I'm going to get to that in a minute because I'm going to buy into one tonight. The purpose is to divide people, to make them willing prisoners of their own homes, to make them not hanging out in the town square discussing matters of the day of importance, but to divide them through entertainment. This will take 30, 40, even 50 years to get done because it has to be done slowly so they don't notice that they are falling asleep. That done, people are divided and asleep on a sugar rush. But this evil one, he will show them some people in heads that are still what we think of as normal. So the normal people stay asleep. They think everything's fine. And then it's time. Make another one insane and make him a messianic symbol. And then it's time to give the United States over to the evil ones, the Nephilim, the ones that do things in an evil manner. That brings us to my final subject of the night, because I have a big night ahead of me and I want to get right to it, because I'm sure that our family of cats that's upstairs is wreaking some type of havoc that's going to take me at least an hour to fix before I can sit down and relax to watch something that I have been waiting 21 years to see. Because you see, if you're my age, in your mid-50s, you remember the absolute hell that we went through as a country. We had the Vietnam War. We had all the protests and everything. That nearly tore the country apart. Go back to my previous commentary for reference. Then we had this Watergate thing. A half-rate, second-rate break-in. To this day, nobody has any idea what its purpose was. No idea whatsoever. And that caused a president to resign. And then we had his vice president, Jerry Ford. We had Jerry Ford, the bumbler, burned his fingers on a toaster, hit his head on the door of the helicopter. I think he whacked himself on the shin with a golf club once. The guy was great. Chevy Chase did a great imitation of him. The beginning of every Saturday Night Live when Ford was at office, he'd be sitting there giving a speech and he'd trip and fall and get up and say live from New York at Saturday night. But anyways, and then we lived through the living hell of Jimmy Carter. And if you people aren't old enough to remember this, maybe you'll recognize this from our current events. Jerry Ford, we had inflation. Inflation was absolutely rampant. It was unbelievable. Unemployment was unbelievable. Jerry Ford comes on one night and he's got whip inflation now. He's got his little win buttons. WIN, whip inflation now, that he wanted everybody to wear so he could whip inflation. And then we had Jimmy Carter, a disaster among presidents, probably one of the worst presidents in the history of the United States, and figures I'd have to live through that one. We had the hostages in Iran. We had hostages in Lebanon. In fact, one of them was a friend of mine, Terry Anderson. He was publisher at the, actually the editor at the Ypsilanti Press. And, well, then he was overseas for some reason. I don't remember exactly the history, but I had met him several times. And he was a friend, and he was held hostage. And Jimmy Carter, we had the gasoline shortages and the embargoes and all this other garbage going on. In fact, that national speed limit back then, kids, was 55 miles an hour. You couldn't go over 55 miles an hour, and they enforced that like you would not believe. You would not believe how they enforced that speed limit. I remember one time when I was a teenager, Carter was in office, and they said they're going to use the National Guard to help enforce the speed limit. They're going to have the National Guard out with the radar guns and everything, and they're going to radio ahead to the Michigan State Police. I went under a bridge, and there's a National Guard helicopter hovering over the highway with a National Guard soldier with a radar gun in his hand like this. It was absolutely insane back then. Well, then we got rid of Carter, and of course we had Reagan, and he lowered the taxes and tax rates, and lowered the size of government regulations and all of that. During Reagan's years, I was never unemployed, ever. I got raises like every 6 months. It was unbelievable. Those are great years. But to get us through the last part of those Carter years, and the first year of Reagan, we were still in the recession. I mean, we were still in the doldrums. We had something. We had a show on television. And like half the population of the United States was watching this show almost every week. It was everywhere you went. You could talk about these people like they were your own family. And the show went off the air in 1991. It's kind of weird. The show essentially lasted as long as Reagan's presidency did, and into what's his name? The first Bush's presidency. But the show went off the air. That was 21 years ago. And I have been waiting for 21 years for this show to come back on so I could hear the words that I've been waiting 21 years for. And that would be, Barnes, there ain't no oil under that land. It's dry dirt. That's right, folks. Tonight at 9 o'clock on, what's the network? I think it's TNT Network. Tonight, somebody is going in the pool at South Fork. That's right, they have the entire original cast back for the new Dallas series. So it's going to be the same people, they're filming it at the same in the same house, on the same property and everything. It's going to be great. 9 o'clock tonight. That's why the show's going to be kind of short tonight. So I'm actually kind of happy tonight. And there you go. My name is Bill Zam. Remember, drive carefully out there and always wear your ball cap because the messes with the facial recognition software on the drones. Until tomorrow night, have a nice evening. We'll see everybody later, and thanks for showing up. Bye.